Well, everybody, I've seen Superman. Yes, I was very late to this one. I was on a beautiful trip last week when this came out, so I didn't have a chance to catch it. So I kind of missed all the discourse. I kind of missed all the noise, and I'm kind of happy I did because I found the lead up to this movie incredibly annoying, incredibly grating. As you see, I'm a massive comic book fan, though, so I was excited for this, and I've reviewed some comic book movies on this channel before and on my TikTok, but this one was different. You know, I am a little bit more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan. Spider-Man's my favorite hero, but I love comic books, I love movies, and I love comic book movies, right? Granted, they haven't been great in recent memory, so this one felt like big, right? It felt like something that's going to reset the DC universe, so I'm glad I kind of got to miss all the noise. I kind of saw and heard every take, so I got to go to this thing pretty objective, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about Superman. So this is a big one. It was heavily anticipated for me. A lot of great mutuals of mine too who are big Superman fans, much bigger than I. This is James Gunn's baby, right? James Gunn is trying to launch a new DC universe, the DCU, starting with one of the most iconic superheroes of all time, a marquee DC character who's right up there with your Batman and Wonder Woman, right? Many would argue Superman is the most popular and most beloved superhero of all time because he really was that first one. So this movie was a litmus test, right? It was a litmus test of, can a new, bright, hopeful version recapture audiences? Can James Gunn capture the same magic he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy and really give this world a really special Superman movie, not only just on its own, but a Superman movie that's going to launch a new, honestly, a whole new universe and a whole new potential generation of DC comic book storytelling. This movie ended up with all that excitement, right, with all that hype and with all that weight going into it. This movie ended up being a very interesting experience for me because I said at the top, I'm a big comic book fan. I've reviewed some comic book movies on this channel before and on my TikTok. And as you can see, I have all this stuff behind me, right? And I always try to review comic book movies just like any other movie, right? But all of us are subjective deep down. No one's completely objective. Don't believe that because we all have our biases, things that we're partial to, things we enjoy, things that hit us harder than maybe someone else. So when I review comic book movies, I do always add in that fan perspective. And some things like fan service or characters or certain story adaptations work for me because I love the material. But at the end of the day, I still try to judge it through the lens of a film. And this movie was very fascinating for me because this is a rare example where being a fan of this stuff, being a DC fan, ended up being what drove my entire experience for this movie in a positive direction. And actually the aspects and the things I look for as a movie fan were the things that I was underwhelmed by. But at the end of the day, being a fan here really helped me win. This movie is very enjoyable. And I really think I'm at a point where I could tell you I borderline love this movie. I'm not quite there yet. I need a second viewing for it. But this movie, for me, falls in the camp of good, not great. And a lot of my criticisms have to do with the idea that I think this movie could have been great, could have been a modern classic, could have been one of the best DC movies ever made, and it came up a little bit short of that. So this is very positive, so let's get into it. James Gunn knows how to work a crowd. Let me just put that on there. I do think he accomplished the job he set out to do, and that job was to bring this character back to this audience, give them a version that is very easy to root for, to love, and one that you could build around and run with and create a universe with and be the centerpiece, and to really be a centerpiece of hope and inspire heroism and kindness and good, which is everything the character stands for. That's on full display this whole movie. The biggest thematic element of this movie that is very clear is kindness, hope, love, all of it, right? And I think James did that. I think this is the version of the character that a lot of people were looking for, and I think it's a version of the character that this audience is going to enjoy. I think most people watching this movie will give it a thumbs up. It's fun, it's bright, there's spectacle. So he really delivered in the sense of a bright, hopeful, new version of Superman for people to latch onto, hold onto, and run with for the years to come. None of that is possible, by the way. None of that is possible without the pitch perfect performance of David Corenswet. That's what makes everything I just said possible. David Corenswet is fueled by Gunn, fueled by the filmmaking, but all of that, right, would still be nothing without this guy. I can't imagine anyone else in this role. This guy is exceptional. He owns the role. He brings so much to it. The mannerisms, the way he just exists in space. He nails the action scenes. He nails the emotional scenes. He nails the scenes as Clark Kent, right? He kind of plays both sides wonderfully well. David Cornswet, this is already, in my opinion, elite tier comic book movie casting. This is the best. This is not hyperbole. I truly believe this, and I think a lot of people do. This is the best comic book movie casting since Downey and Evans. I say that because this is a guy who has the same presence as those two, plays the role as good as those two, and he is someone I want to see for the next decade. I want to see him 10 times in the next 10 years the same way I saw Downey and Evans that many times. That's how good I think this guy is. He is Superman. He has it. He has that star power. He has that gravitas. I'm going to pause right now because I don't know if I could keep, I don't know if I could keep I could keep rambling about David Cornswet this whole time, but he is so good. My hat's off to him as well. Thank you for being our new Superman. This is already my favorite actor. This is my favorite version of Superman in a cinematic form. Guy's incredible. Thank you, Mr. Cornswet. And he's a freaking nerd. I love that too. He's a freaking nerd. Watch his interviews. That gets more points for me. He's the guy on the screen and he's the guy off the screen too. This is my Superman. Everything else that works for me in this movie follows suit after him in the world of DC. I love the world that James Gunn built in a way where Marvel kind of slowly put things together over time and brought characters together. James Gunn drops you right in the middle of a lived-in world. This movie opens up with one of the coolest things in comic book movies in recent memory. It opens with sort of like a title card that's sort of telling you what happened. It's going 300 years in the past, going all the way to 3 seconds ago, and it's talking about this world as metahumans, and there's more now than ever, and Superman has revealed himself to the world. It's an age of gods and monsters, and when we get dropped right into the action, I'm talking right into the action. Very ballsy, bold move by Gunn, but it worked out here. The gun was loaded, if you will. We get right into the action, and then as the movie goes on, he sort of builds the world on the fly. He kind of just drops in characters like the Justice Gang with Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl. They were great as well. Like, Eddie Gathegi is outstanding as Mr. Terrific. He is certainly someone a lot of people are talking about. I want to see this guy many more times. Just owns the role. Was born to play the role. Incredible. Nathan Fillion, big surprise for me. I am a big Green Lantern fan of many of them. I wasn't crazy they went with the bowl cut. I know it's a comic thing. I wasn't crazy about the Nathan Fillion casting, but he nails this. He's awesome. I loved him too. The use of his powers was great. He nails his scenes. He's got the comedic stuff. He's got the hateable stuff, but he's great. Isabella Merced was really fun as Hawkgirl. I wanted a lot more from her. She kind of gets the most shortchanged of the three, but I'm sure she will be back. We'll see her in Peacemaker later, but like that sort of things happens. They name drop Maxwell Lord. We have Frank Grillo's Captain Rick Flag in here. There's so many other pocket universes with Lex Luthor. So there's so many things that this movie shows you. And as a DC fan, I was eating it all of it up. Anthony Kerrigan is Metamorpho too. I mean, this movie is a DC fan's dream. It's like a nerd's dream, and all that stuff was working for me. And I think the world feels very lived in, and I think that makes the rest of this franchise rich for storytelling. I think not only did he give us a great Superman, he gave us a really interesting DC world, and there's so many avenues he set up that I want to go down immediately, and I hope I don't have to wait too long for some of that. The movie has a really awesome score too from John Murphy and David Fleming. I didn't expect this. Outside of like Giacchino's score in The Batman, and I really can't think of another one in recent memory, a comic book movie score that was that good or that iconic already, at least in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. I'm probably forgetting one, but the score in this movie is outstanding, and Murphy and Fleming, you kind of see how they blend things together and how their own styles kind of shine through. It's a really cool dichotomy, and then the way they bring back the John Williams theme in this movie, I think, is so incredible. And I just think, yeah, the music added so much, especially from an emotional standpoint, especially in the back half. This thing is awesome. The theme of Lex Luthor and sort of the villainous things going on, that was awesome. So I couldn't get enough of the score. I've been listening to it on repeat since I seen the movie. That's a big compliment for me. I'm a big score guy. Talk about the rest of the cast. I talked about the Justice Gang a little bit, but Rachel Brosnahan is a really great Lois Lane. She's awesome. Her scenes with Corrin Sweat as Clark were amazing. I actually wanted a lot more of them, a lot more of that. I'll get more into that later, but she brought the tenacity, she brought the fierceness, right? The fire, the drive. She also brought a lot of charm and a lot of charisma, and I think she's a character who could definitely be used more in this universe as well, not, just in Superman movies. My guy Skylar is Jimmy Olsen. This guy stole the show. This guy's amazing. This guy was the best part of every scene he was in. He has a storyline in here that I actually think is like my second favorite thing about the movie, besides David. It's so funny and ridiculous, and yet it's so quintessential comic book that it works. Him kind of being a driving force at figuring out the whole conflict and mystery with Lex, with Lois's assistance, but it kind of really is him, was awesome. It was just great. I think, I saw somebody say that James wants to do like a potential spin-off of him, and at first I'm like, no way, but now I'm like, dude, I would watch this guy at any time. He was amazing. The Kents were solid. They were decent. His parents, I'll get more into that stuff later, but the rest of the Daily Planet crew was really, really solid too, but I have to make one big apology at the end. I was never big on Nicholas Holt's casting. I didn't like it in any of the trailers or clips I saw. I went into this movie very sour on it, and by the end of the movie, I thought this guy was incredible. What an awesome Lex Luthor performance. Certainly, probably my favorite Lex Luthor on screen, and I've always been a fan of him as an actor. I knew he would probably do a good job. I just couldn't see it. He didn't pass the eye test or the sound test, his voice, if you will. But in this movie, he is a professional hater. He is cold, conniving. He is calculated, and he has some awesome moments in this movie. So we got an incredible version of Superman. We got an incredible version of Lex Luthor that I cannot wait to see for years to come as well. And my last big positive is the movie really does take, and prepare yourself if you're listening, it does take a bit of a political angle. It doesn't go that hard with it, and it doesn't run with it that long in the movie, but there is a conflict in the movie presented, and it sort of becomes a driving force of an interview between Lois and Clark, and I found it to be particularly interesting. I'm glad it didn't skirt past it or try to avoid it. So I say kudos to James Gunn for trying to present something like this in a comic book movie, and I think it ends up working pretty well by the end. How did I not talk about Krypto? Krypto is also the best part of the movie. He's awesome. He is the goodest boy in the world. He looks great, sounds great, moves great. The action is awesome. He ends up being a way bigger part of this thing than you thought. And I better see Krypto much more. Well, you're going to, because there's a fun little cameo surprise at the end. She looks amazing. I'm very excited for that movie. In fact, I'm more excited for that movie than this one. That's where I tell you, I'm really enjoying the movie. I love this version of Superman. I love the actor playing him. Love pretty much every cast member. Love that it gave me so many things as a DC fan. I love that it launched a universe while also telling a very satisfying story of hope, kindness, things that kind of tug on the heartstrings and make you feel good. It's a very feel-good movie. So all that's true. And all that is that comic book fan stuff I was talking about. Now let's talk about it as a movie fan. This movie is extremely choppy. The pacing of this thing is breakneck. It is fast. I saw that criticism going in, and I really felt it by the end. And I know a lot of people have said, well, on multiple viewings it gets better. On second or third viewing that goes away. Well, no disrespect. Of course that goes away because you know everything that's coming. So then you start to kind of feel the emotion of certain scenes. And yes, subsequent viewings do make things better, right? In my mind, my second viewing of a movie is usually my favorite because it confirms a lot. But when you need a second viewing to make something better, that's concerning to me because it should have been that way the first time, I feel. So the pacing is very choppy. They were originally supposed to have these days of the week cards. It was supposed to take place over the course of a week, Sunday, Monday through Saturday. And you could feel when those moments are. This movie doesn't have a lot of establishing shots or scenes really building. You kind of start off with the rising action of every scene. And when it jumps to next days or to next sort of big conflict events, it could feel kind of jarring at first. Like, where's context? Where was the build up to this? I also think scenes end way too fast. Scenes don't have enough time to breathe, especially the emotional ones. I feel like there were several moments where I was getting ready to feel something, and then I would be taken away to a new scene, or there would be something kind of funny to kind of take me out of it. So I don't know why this thing got chopped up in the get it like that. I know they said that there were test screenings that maybe didn't go well, the days of the week thing, but this movie moves so fast where it is really hard to connect with characters or plot lines deeply and emotionally. There's a lot of characters I enjoyed and a lot of characters I know from source material, but by the time this movie's over, I feel like I really only know the characters of Superman and Lex Luthor. I think everyone else was there and played a role, and yet I couldn't give you that much more on them. Maybe Jimmy Olsen too a little bit, but I would even say Lois. I think Lois, they kind of give you some things in exposition, but then she's just doing things the whole movie. There's not much getting under the surface, which I think if this movie was about 15 minutes longer, I know that sounds crazy because like why make movies longer? People usually want them to be shorter. If this movie was about 15 minutes longer, I think it might be close to perfect. And along with that choppiness and pacing, I feel like there's a lot of plot lines and ideas that don't really go anywhere. I do think the movie's overstuffed and overcrowded. I think the screenplay is way too packed and not really clean, which is ironic because James Gunn keeps saying like the scripts aren't good. Yeah, no, the movies aren't being made with the best screenplays, and he's a big script and screenplay guy, but the writing here I actually think is one of the weakest parts of the movie. Not necessarily his fault. I think he was trying to do a lot with this movie, and I think he was trying to do a task where he was trying to tell a contained story about Superman, a new bright version of Superman, and also tried to world build at the same time, and there just wasn't room for both, so he did his blend of both the best he could, and it ends up being satisfying, but there was definitely more. There was stuff with the political conflict, right, in a different country that does kind of resemble, if you want to put countries' names on it, you can, but the Kents were really only with his parents for a few minutes. They're only in like 2 scenes of the movie. We really only get Clark Kent one time, maybe twice if you count the interview where he's going in and out of Superman. Jimmy Olsen gets a lot of screen time, but no one else at the Daily Planet, and they're kind of present at the end, and I'm like, who are these people? Like, I don't even know why these people are here. Justice Gang's awesome. They introduced this idea that they're funded by Maxwell Lord. Ooh, heroes are funded in this world and controlled by a corporation. Never explore that again. They allude to an exposition. They have history with Superman. They kind of know each other. But like, so when this sort of main theme, and James Gunn also introduced this idea when he first pitched the movie of the movie's about Superman in a senile world, and he's teaching all these heroes to be different, and these heroes are violent and stuff, and you really don't see any of that. Events just happen. The movie does feel like 7 or 8 vignettes put together, and while they're good vignettes and they work together, I think the movie is satisfying in a way, but it does leave you longing for more, and I don't think a repeat viewing is going to fill in any of this for me. It's just going to make me ignore it more, which is like a good thing, but not a great thing. Last thing I'll talk about is the visuals. This is a strange movie with the visuals because the flying stuff is awesome. The way it is like point of view flying, like the Top Gun Maverick planes, like the car chase in the Batmobile, right? Like when they choose to stay on the thing that's moving instead of a wide shot of the character moving all around. Flight scenes were awesome. The action scenes were cool because the choreography and the design of some of them, like the creativity around them, was really, really cool, and no fight scene felt the same in this movie, which is a big compliment I could give it. But other times, I know he was trying to do something different and new with the camera, but other times the movie looks really weird and really wonky. There's some of the some of the visuals worked, and some of the visuals I'm like, I do not know what they're doing or why they chose this shot. There's a shot where Lois and Clark are talking in an apartment, and the shots they use to capture him and Lois individually, I just think don't work. Were really distracting to me. So the visuals I wasn't crazy about. All in all, the movie's good, not great. It's a great DC movie. It's probably the most DC movie to exist with all the comic book stuff it does, and certainly one of the coolest DC movies ever. They gave us a generational Superman in David Corenswet, and the movie is bright, fun, and hopeful enough to make you happy and feel good, and I need to see more. I would love a Superman sequel. I need to see this again soon, and heck yes, I want Gunn to do it too. I also didn't think the humor was too bad. I thought Gunn restrained himself pretty well, but yeah, so the movie's good, not great. This is like the best version of an 8 out of 10 movie, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The only reason I'm saying this is slightly disappointing is that this had all the makings to be 9.5, 10, and it just didn't get there. I do think for all the hype, the marketing, and the gravitas that went into this movie, I think it could have been a little better, but I'm still telling you I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go see it again tomorrow, and it made me just more excited for DC than ever. This is a really solid start. It's about as solid of a start as they could have had given the current landscape and things like that. The box office is a bit of a reality check, but David Zaslav doubled down. There's bright things ahead for DC, and I cannot wait to be a part of it all. And I can't wait to talk more DC films with you down the road very soon.